Hi, this is Doug from Doug's Dog Training, and this video is with Thor. Hi, Thor. Hi, Thor. Hi, Thor. Thor is with me for a board and train. I have a couple of videos up of him already. Thor is here for right now. It's looking at 8 weeks. Thor came to me. First of all, his owner wants to have him for an emotional support dog. He's a veteran. I don't think he minds me saying that. And Thor is a adopted dog. They adopted Thor. But Thor came to me. First we started with one-on-one training, and things just didn't work out. We discussed him coming to do a board and train with me. Thor is and this is definitely genetics. So we call it weak nerve. So he's very fearful of noises, fast movements, strangers, and so with fearfulness and lack of confidence also comes his ability not to hold on to training that they were doing, as well as he so people that don't understand the word leaking, he has this incredible whining. So leaking is whining. There's in my opinion, him being with me now for coming up on 6 weeks, it's genetic, and it's also part of his learned behavior. So with that said, some of the important pieces of or I should say our goals for his board and train was, one, to build confidence, because obviously with an emotional support dog you need to be able to have a dog that can be in different environments, be stable, be neutral, obey his owner, and the leaking or the whining over anything and everything when he first came to me was really overwhelming to his owner. So what we've worked on is, one is obedience. Two is introducing him slowly into environmental stresses. So going into stores, doors that open and close, no. Strangers, noises, fast movement of objects that he just catches. And Thor has come a long way, but Thor isn't where I want him to be right now at this time period. And because it's genetic, it's very difficult to change the genetic predisposition to be fearful, not have confidence. The whining is definitely a part of his genetics. I think my opinion is I'm thinking he has a little bit of Rhodesian Ridgeback in him. He's got Hound in him, maybe even a little Pit or American Bulldog. But I don't know his past as a puppy. I don't know the way he was raised. I'm sure as a adopted dog, it's a good possibility he was born out in the wild and a rescue group picked up the litter. But again, I don't know, because I haven't discussed that part that far back with the owner. So he's been with me, like I said, coming up on 6 weeks. So we've worked on obedience, a basic obedience. Sit, down, a down stay, a sit stay, going to his bed or place, going into his crate, loading when he's commanded to. With that, also recall, very important. So if you've watched my previous videos, you know that recall to me, and I'm sure to a lot of trainers out there, is the number one obedience command. It's a life-saving obedience command, or it could be, as well as it could save another animal's life. You know, if he sees a baby rabbit or a small squirrel and it starts running, he can't help it, he's going to chase, and there's a good likelihood, if you don't have a good recall, that he could kill that little animal. So with that said, we've worked on that. We've worked on confidence building exercises slowly. So bringing them in to different things that anything. It could be anything. It could be stairs. It could be jumping on rocks. And getting him to see that he can get through it as well as accomplish it on his own. A lot of times, because he doesn't have a lot of confidence, he's got a lot more confidence now, but when we first started, leash pressure was very important. So, we have to remember how dogs learn. We can't use food to bribe him to do things that are scary or he feels he can't do it. Because you're really reinforcing it, because food is a reinforcer. It's a primary reinforcer. Or it could be used as a primary reinforcer. Good boy. So each time he accomplishes something, I ask him to accomplish something a little more difficult, and a little bit more difficult, and a little bit more difficult. So that's important in confidence building. The leaking, so it's kind of several factors working on it. Because it's genetic, you can't punish that away. It's not fair to him to punish it with, most people are going to go to an e-collar right away and use electric stim and try to shut it off. So I'm trying to work on several parts. One is building his confidence. Obedience is also a confidence builder. And definitely teaching him a negative marker. So I don't use high punishment, meaning, so the top level to me is going to be an e-collar. And there's so many different levels on e-collar, but that's the top level without making it physical. So I don't use the e-collar on that at all, but pretty much teaching him what no or means and raising the voice. Because he's not a confident dog and he's fearful, you don't need to be, I think trainers call it heavy-handed. Heavy-handed, I mean putting a lot of pressure on the dog, like going to him, no, and we call that spatial pressure, putting spatial pressure on him. A physical leash correction, whether it's a flat collar, a choke collar, or a prong collar, in those levels, I don't use that. But I definitely say no, and I'll raise my voice, so I'm teaching him that no, you can't whine. So one, building confidence. Two, he seems at times when he's anxious or not sure what's going on, it leaks. Normal, he leaks, meaning he whines. So also teaching him how to play properly with me, to let out that anxiousness that dogs get when they don't get a lot of exercise. So we're working on the brain and the physical part. So the brain comes with training and confidence building exercises, and the physical part comes with playing tug. So he doesn't have a good grip, and I've spent all this time now building up his toy drive. He had none at first with me. Now he actually will bite, but he doesn't have, and that's genetics, he doesn't have a good grip, so he gives in quick. I've slowly built it so he'll hold on a little bit more and he'll get a little bit more tugging. So I don't typically do so much tug, but what I'll do is I'll reward with the toy, and teaching him that the parameters of the game of tug or toy play is that when you win and I let you win, or you get it as a reinforcer, a primary reinforcer is that you bring it back to me. Because we all know dogs, when they first get it, unless you teach them, they're going to take off with it. It's just in there. It's what they do. I got it, I win, I want to go away. So that's where we are at this point. And structure, consistency. So every time before he goes out my house or into my house, he has to sit, and he can't leave out the door or the slider or come into the house without hearing break. And for the first few days, it was leashed all the time, and it was strict control that he knew he couldn't, no matter what he wanted to do, he couldn't leave yet. I also use that for the crate. I don't let him just come, and again, every day, every time he comes out of the crate, he has to sit or lay down, and he has to come out calmly when I say break. And when he does come out, then I put him in a sit right away. Where when he first came to me, boom, he bolted out because he doesn't like the crate. And a lot of the whining, well, you just heard him. Nope. So you just heard him. I don't know if you caught that, but some of the whining is definitely the crate. He doesn't like the crate. And other times it could just be he's laying on his place bed, that's not his. His is a large, so it's bigger. That's the other one I use to go in and out to work outside. Good boy, bud. All right. So, like I said, structure. He comes in my house. He has to sit. When I say sit, he has to sit. So if he goes into a down, which he does, as well as a lot of other dogs, I use leash pressure, get him back in a sit. Sit is sit, down is down. When I say break, he's allowed to come in and go out. So that's, again, whether it's his crate or whether it's going in and out of the house, that's what he must do. And every time he comes in my house, the way my house is set up, open up my slider to the deck, then to the backyard. When he comes in, the bed is very close to the slider on a wall, and he goes right onto his bed. And we call it place. I don't call it bed, I call it place. So over time, we've also added that to part of his obedience, whether I'm working directly on the bed, place command, and he's got to learn to stay longer and longer, as I've done, or in the house, that's part of his training. So he comes in right on his bed, and he's not allowed to leave until I say break. So again, remembering how dogs learn. Dogs don't learn in long-term duration skipping in between. So if you've got a good sit, stay, down, stay, place, stay, at 10 seconds, and then your dog starts getting jittery or starts getting anxious and wants to move or actually breaks, you can't go from 10 seconds, if you got good 10 seconds, and jump up to a minute. So I've slowly added time over time over time, and any time, whether it's in the house and he just goes to his bed, he breaks it, I'm very firm with him, firm verbally, because again, the dog I have doesn't need an e-collar correction, he doesn't need a physical leash correction, he doesn't need a pet corrector. A strong verbal no and back to the bed command or place command is enough for him. So anytime he breaks it, he's told no, and most of the time he's going to break it is when I'm in the other room, so he comes out. I mean, basic curiosity, we all know that, but I tell him firm no, I say place, and I bring him back to the place, whether I got to walk him back or pick up the leash, because the majority of the time he's got a leash on him, even still after all this time, because it's important, because he needs to know that if it's yes, it's yes, if it's no, it's no, and if he breaks that, I have to be able to just firmly but calmly bring him back to where he broke, So as part of my training is always, I tell people, when you first start, for weeks and weeks and weeks, keep the leash on. It's a lot easier to grab 6 feet away from a dog than going and trying to grab a collar, which can either create more fear, can create a dog to possibly growl or try to snap at you, and that's the last thing we want to do, is get in a battle with a dog. When we're working on confidence building or we're working on aggression issues, it's just so much easier to say no, pick up the leash, walk him back, and put him back where he belongs. So this is just part of his place command and his recall. So just gonna kind of show you where he's at that. Then I'll do a sit, a down. We're still working on heel. I actually just started adding the heel the last few days. So the heel is pretty much, I like to use a barrier. So I'll show it to you. I like to use a barrier like this fence. Oh. So like this fence, and then I can use the fence to teach him to go in between me and the barrier and have a nice heel position. So I use food, and again, the way I like, this is kibble. I went over to kibble today because it's dinner time, so I'm using his food to teach him today, to work on training. I like to have it in between my forefinger and my middle finger, and I just put my thumb over it. So I just put my thumb over it, and then I can pretty much lure the dog any place I want. I can turn my hand anyway, and then once the dog is done what he's done, he's accomplished what I've asked of him, or he's been lured into the position I want, then I'll use my marker, which is yes for him. Yes means he did right, he's getting a reward, and the reward tonight is kibble. So ultimately with this one I'll be using my left hand, and I'm hoping you can see it. So I say the command first, and I start my movement. So I want to make sure that the dog is at least looking at me. Come here. he's at least looking at me, and then I have approximately a foot and a half in between me and the barrier. It could be a table, it could be a chair, it could be the fence, whatever. So I'll say heel, have him follow, turn my hand, step, yes, and I mark it. So it kind of looks like this. So I'll say the command first, heel, bring him past me, turn, step out, get him in position, yes, mark it, and then reward. And again, you know, with training, at least this obedience command, teaching him that heel, the position. Heel means his right shoulder is around my left knee. And then I mark it, and I can control that. So heel, turn, step to get him in position. So now I can push him back if I want. If he's too far forward, I can bring him forward. If he's too far back, yes, and I reward him. Again, for sit, down, heel, I like to do 10, 15 reps in a row, and then I'll move on to something else. Or I might do that and say sit. Good, good sit, good sit, yes. And with him, yes, not only as a marker, but I also use it as a release marker at times, meaning, as you saw, I moved, and he was able to break his sit. So this one I'll say down, nope. So my negative marker, because he didn't listen to me, down, good, down. So I'm building up, nope, nope, down, good. So then I add good, and keep him in the down, and treat him, good, down, break, yeah, good boy. And I use break. That's my marker to release him, as well as yes at times. So break means you got to stay where you are until you hear that word break. I like to also add break. So I started with a place bed or an elevated bed first. So I teach the dog to go on it. Then by using body pressure in the leash, I add duration of time that he's got to stay on that bed by either moving in towards him if he tries to get off, or using the leash. And then I say break and move back, so he starts learning that break means, hey, I can get off that. Then I use that, I also incorporate that into his, I talked about earlier, but anytime he goes in or out of my house, or anytime he goes out of the crate, the word break means he can come out or go out or come in. So hopefully that explains it. Again, so for heel, I'm going to say the command before I use my hand to lure him with the treat in my hand. And like I said, 10, 15 reps. And then as time goes on, days go on, you might, I don't know if you got enough time, you might do 3 different sessions. So maybe it's 10 reps in the morning, 15 reps late afternoon, then at night you do another 15. Before you know it, he's going to start understanding the minute you say heel, so you're not going to have to go. Again, we want to wean off, meaning start reducing the amount of help we're giving him to learn that obedience command of heel. So instead of doing the whole loop with my hand and stepping, I might just do a quick heel, yes. And then before you know it's a little less. But that's in days, meaning I did several days of doing the full, complete luring to get him in the right position, and adding the my marker and then his primary reinforcer. Hold on, I'm just going to turn the light on. Good boy, buddy. So I'm going to give him a place command from here without any movement. Place. Nope. Place. Nope. So see how dog, now watch this. With a little bit of movement, it's clear to him. So it shows me that he's not, even after all these weeks, it's a perfect example of a dog taking time to learn the verbal cue versus the help. So typically people go like that or like this, little short ones. So place. Nope. Place. Yes. So even though we've been working at it almost 6 weeks and we've done a lot of reps, that pretty much shows you that, oh, I got to turn it. Oh my God, you didn't even see it. So that wasn't too bright. So let me bring it in closer. Break. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. Hey, watch out. So if you noticed, I didn't give him a treat or a reward or use a primary reinforcer for break. In the beginning, to teach him to leave the bed or to come into the house or go out the house, I use a little bit of leash pressure, or I make movement away from him so that he understands, and I'll use my marker in a treat. Reason being is at first they don't know. So as they start understanding break means I'm free, I wean off the treat, because as I've said in all my videos, break or free command is the reward in itself. So, place. Nope. Place. Yes. Good boy, buddy. Good boy. Sit. Yes. Good boy. Down. Good. That bed's just a little too small for him. So I'm going to do a couple of recalls just so you can see where we are. Break. Attaboy, buddy. But I might not give him a treat for it, but I'm going to pet him because that's a reinforcer. Remember, touch or praise is a reinforcer. The 3 T's of reinforcement. And what is reinforcement? It means it's something that you give to the dog or allow the dog to have that science says after a behavior, if you give one of these, the likelihood of that behavior continuing is very high. So the 3 T's, as my buddy Chris Fraze calls it: treat or food, toy, so a ball or a tug or a squeaky toy. If a dog has been taught the game of tug or to play with a toy, and he has good drive and you built up that drive, that's another reinforcer. Some dogs love, like Mals, Shepherds, Rotties, some of the Mastiffs, Pit Bulls, coming from working lines, typically have high toy drive, as well as food drive. Now some dogs just have toy drive and don't have food drive, or their drive isn't so high for food, they prefer a toy. And again, to use a toy, for me, I want to first teach the dog the rules of the game, because that's what it is, a game. And I have a video, if you look back, on how to teach a dog to play tug. But the steps to developing not only the drive, the desire, drive means desire for that toy, toy. So get back to it. Treat or food, that's one of the primary reinforcers. Toy, and then touch or praise. And that's where a lot of owners, when they don't understand how a dog learns, makes mistake either through a newly adopted dog that they purchased or a puppy that they bought. And what happens is, let's face it, puppies and dogs, new dogs coming into your life, there's a lot of new things they're going to experience with you. And some of those things might make them nervous, scared, anxious, fearful, aggressive. And the last thing we want to do, and where a lot of people get in trouble, and actually reinforce that behavior because they think of the dog like a child. And what do I mean by that? Well, a child, when they're scared, let's take, for example, my daughter, first day of kindergarten, cried the night before, was scared. I mean, we hold them, we hold their hand, we comfort them, we talk to them. Well, if you do that with a dog, what did I say one of the 3 T's of reinforcement is? Touch, praise, touch/praise. So if you're talking to your dog, oh, come on, Buster, or Rocky, or come on, baby, you can do it, or you're trying to use food, we just explained what it is. It's a reinforcer. So there's a good chance that you're actually reinforcing the behavior you don't like to see. So that's where, and a lot of people have a hard time with this, is I tell people, especially people when we first start a training program with their dog, and the dog's struggling with confidence, don't talk to the dog. Stop talking to the dog, except working with commands and your marker. Because we as humans, people dress their dog up like humans. They put them in backpacks. They put them in, my wife, for instance, puts her dog once in a while in a stroller. It's nuts. And so when you're comforting and coddling a dog, the dog doesn't have a chance to experience that new sight, sound, feeling. And what happens is you think you're doing the right thing because that's what we would do for a human baby. And what you're doing is you're reinforcing that. So stop talking to your dog, put a leash on your dog. You go on Chewy, just Google search on Chewy, cotton training leash. So I think they come in 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet in cotton. So it's a lightweight leash. It's cheap. It's like $8 or $9. And keep it on your dog at all times when you're home and when the dog's out with you. You never leave a leash on your dog when you're not home, and you don't leave it on when you put it in the crate or inside of something, and you can't watch the dog with direct supervision, because there's a chance that the dog could become entangled and then get nervous and scared and maybe tangle more and choke itself and possibly die. So when you're starting training, and again, he's been with me 6 weeks almost, he has a leash with him almost all the time when he's home with me. Because again, if he breaks, if I'm out in the kitchen and he's in the living room on his place and he breaks it, I can easily just pick up the leash and walk him right back. First tell him no, walk him right back, put him back on the bed, and pretty much walk away again. So if I don't have the leash, then I have to grab his collar. So the dog already knows it's in trouble. There's a good chance that the dog's going to try to run away. Or if you grab him quick or her quick, like I said, there's a possibility the dog's going to growl or get defensive. It's just natural. And the last thing we want to do is create turmoil in our relationship like that. So I like to have a leash on at all times. Structure every day. Dogs need that. Some humans don't like that. They hate that. But dogs need structure. Consistent, doing the same thing pretty much every day. And don't give in. So if you say sit and the dog just goes into a down and you're like, I don't have it in me today, then you're pretty much allowing the dog, again, to stay in that dysfunctional relationship with you, that he knows that he can lay down if he wants or not stay on his bed. Again, you don't have to yell, you don't have to be mean. Just mean what you say and do it. So if you say sit and he goes to lay down, I just say I say the negative marker first, no or then I use leash pressure straight up and I say sit. And more than likely the first few days you're doing that and being consistent, he's going to tend to like almost try to fight it, like I'm not going to sit up, or go right back into it down. Just say nope, sit, until you know that you can release the pressure on the leash so you don't feel any tightness and he stays in a sit. And then again, don't expect him to sit there for 2 or 3 minutes. If you get 10 seconds, and give him the break command and reward him, by either touch and praise, or if you have a treat, give him a treat. So he's learning now that in our relationship, mommy or daddy is in charge in a healthy relationship, not in a dysfunctional one. Because if you leave it up to the dog to make the decisions, 9 times out of 10, the dog's going to make the wrong decisions, which just creates more problems for your relationship. So if you're contacting me, we already know that you have a problem. Whether it's you don't know how to train the dog, or you don't know how to reward the dog, or you're letting your dog on your couch in your bed and the dog's growling at you every time. And if a trainer like me tells you, at this point, you already have an issue with your dog, you're allowing him to feel like, or she, that she's on the same level as a human. And now they're growling, I say, don't let him up. Keep your leash on. So if the dog jumps up, you just grab the end of the leash. Nope, get down. And you might have to do that 10 times in a row, or 10 times every day for a few days. And then sooner or later, the dog learns that he can't be up there. And you start to balance off your relationship with your dog. So the dog clearly understands that, okay, mommy or daddy's in charge. Good things happen when I listen. And you start to resolve some of the problems why you contacted me or another trainer in the first place. Because either your dog's acting like a jerk on the leash and barking and screaming at everybody, or your dog is peeing in the house, or your dog's destructive in the house. Dog, come! Yes, good boy. Or, yeah, that boy, buddy. Or, you're teaching a sit and the dog won't sit. So, we first have to start off. In my program, I always start off with the first layer of training is to go over having a proper relationship with your dog. Doesn't mean your dog and your issues are going to be the same as Mary and Lucy, but your dog any good trainer with just a few questions can quickly figure out where you kind of are and what you need to make some changes. And another thing is when I have a new client and we're working on that and making changes in the relationship and how the dog lives in the house, I don't, and I'm very clear about that, I don't look at being a drill sergeant and like taking everything away right away, you know, because that's not fair to the dog, and that'll actually do more damage, or it could possibly do more damage with you and your dog in the relationship. So I slowly start, you know, recommending and showing you what to do to start taking charge of the relationship. And ultimately, we want our dog to, one, love us, want to be with us, want to train for us, want to learn from us, want to be around us, want to play with us. And we want that to be a healthy, respectful, loving relationship. But if you allow the dog to do whatever they want, or you're coddling them, or you're not allowing your dog to feel the fear or the nervousness and understand how to get them through that, so each incident becomes a learning and a confidence builder, then what you're doing is you're keeping the dog in turmoil mentally, which is bad. You could possibly keep the dog in a dangerous situation if it's aggression out of fear or aggression out of defensiveness or whatever. And if it's anxious and fearful, what kind of life is that? So when we, as a trainer, a good trainer makes recommendations, there's a reason for that. So I just want to go over some of that. The other thing is, what I want to say too is, besides Thor leaking, whining a lot, and besides Thor being a fearful dog, a nervous dog, when he came to me, he also, besides that and a couple other things I mentioned, he also has an issue with vocalization, and that comes from the hound, I'm sure. I mean, the first time I tried to drummel his nails, he screamed. I was waiting for my neighbor to come out and say, "What are you doing to that dog?" I mean, incredible. If you grab him too quickly, whether it's by the leash or if, like I say, I don't like to grab by the collar, but if you do something too fast with him, he'll scream like you're beating him. So he's a very vocal dog. So I also manage and train knowing that that's one of his predispositions, one of his reactions, and trying to get that to change so that he doesn't, so you don't get animal control called on you. And my battery's dying, so I just want to talk about that, and hopefully this helped a little bit. I didn't get to do the recall, but I'll finish it up later with that. So pretty much it's like this. Go. Place. Yes. Set. So what I do is, again, if you look back, I have a leash on normally. No, sit. Sit. No, sit. Good. So you see how we went to break it? I didn't have to go close to him. I didn't have to have a leash on. So the next thing is, when I say the word to bring him to me, I'm backing away in the beginning, because we have to teach him through help with the body before, like I said, a couple hundred reps before he learns the verbal cue. Thor, come! Yes! Good boy, buddy! Good boy! Yes, a very good boy! And when your dog comes to you, make it a party. You don't have to give him a bunch of treats at one time or rewards, but you can give him a treat, mark it, treat, and then, you know, yee-haw, good boy! Make that the most fun time is when he comes to you. All right. I'll catch you another video, maybe tomorrow, depending on the weather. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like this video. Please subscribe to my channel too. Thanks. Bye.